My name is Chapman. I'm your host, and tonight I'm excited to announce our third collaborative live event, Australia's Leading Football Kicking Coaches. Before we start tonight's episode, our mission here at Prepare Like a Pro is to empower aspiring athletes and staff with practical knowledge from some of the industry's most inspiring individuals and to empower the developing coaches. If you like the show, please show support by following us on Instagram and subscribing to the podcast. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Our first guest for tonight's show is Ben Stanley. He's the founder of Enhanced Football, located in Queensland, and his topic will be discussing the importance of learning a variety of kicks. So, welcome, Ben. Thanks for jumping on, mate.
How you going, mate?
I'm going well. Let's dive straight into it.
Yeah.
When should a footballer be starting to learn different types of kicking techniques? When do you typically start?
Oh, mate, as early as possible. And we just encourage parents really to send their kids whenever they've got intrinsic motivation, mate. So whenever they're keen to improve their skills and want to do more, we would love to see them. So we just think that intrinsic motivation is so important rather than parents, it's okay to push them to come to you and things like that. But when a kid really, really wants to improve and wants to learn some different kicks and do those different variety of kicks, they're the ones that are going to learn and really progress with their footy. So that's what we're all about is when, we've got some great stories behind that too, where kids are paying their own way to come and see us and things like that. And they're the ones that really, really improve and that are keen to dive into all those variety of kicks and learn the correct technique. So, yeah, pretty exciting stuff.
I love that. So the parents are getting them doing chores around the house, they're getting their pocket money, and then they're investing in their footy.
Yeah, yep. There's some of that, and there's also had a girl the other day come and see me who's got a part-time job at a Vietnamese restaurant. She's only 14 or 15 years old. And paying her own way. So I actually put it out on social media the other night. Does anyone want to sponsor the girl? And lucky enough that, there's someone sponsoring her and she's got about, 15 free lessons or something like that with me that they're chipping in for it because of that, that intrinsic motivation to get better. So it's really exciting. It's awesome.
And how does it, you mentioned there a girl that's working with you, how does it differ for girls and boys? Let's say brothers and sisters are going out for a kick.
Yeah.
Should the brother be focusing on different things, even though at the same age compared to the sister and vice versa, or is the game the same for both genders?
Yeah, great question. If you asked me that 2 years ago, Jack, I would have said yes, let's do it differently. But I don't treat females or males any differently, no matter what age. I think they can all learn at the same rate, just depending on where they're at with their stage of learning and things like that. But, the same way we teach the boys is the same way we teach the girls. So, there's a lot of things that come into play. Like I said, their stage of learning, their age, their experience and all those type of things. But what I've learned over the last couple of years is we've got to treat them the same because there's no difference. So we teach the same things we do. It's for the boys and the girls, and it's going really well.
And when you're doing your first early sessions in terms of session plans for the coaches out there, what are some key pillars in terms of kicks that you start with? For the basic kicking technique.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So we tend to just look at what they've got. So I'll film them and just see what they've got at the start. And if they're going really well, we wouldn't make many adjustments. We might just tinker with a few things. But otherwise, if they need a little bit more help, we always start and look at the ball grip to start with, because if they can't grip the ball properly, they can't control the ball down onto their boot. So we like to use smaller balls. We like to start with tennis balls and things like that, just to give them the confidence of the motion of kicking. Because once they get that motion, then you can progress them up a size. You might go from a tennis ball to a size 1 to a 2 to whatever age group they're at. But we're really big on teaching the motion of kicking first, get the grip right. And then we can go from there. But it's all about, instilling that confidence in them to be able to do the motion that is the one that the professionals are using most of the time. So, we're very big on that. And we're very big on teaching progression. And I think that's what a lot of coaches are liking when we go to clubs and educate coaches, is that here's a simple progression for someone at, the cognitive stage of learning with kicking. And here's how we teach it step by step, rather than looking at it as a whole skill.
Yeah, awesome, mate. And with that, when you're discussing with coaches at clubs and you're running workshops,
Yeah.
what are some common questions that you're getting from coaches in the community?
Yeah, I guess the most common question is, how do we break it down? There's a lot of coaches out there that have been fantastic footballers and that can demonstrate the kick really well, but they're just lacking those teaching skills of how to break it down into small parts and just look at it like that. It's a matter of finding, when you're looking at the athlete, where's your biggest bang for your buck? Is it ball grip? Is it their approach to their kick, and things like that? But we try to help them with the progression first. Here's the progression, and then we also help them with, if we are filming them, what sort of feedback can we give them? Because one thing I learned off Mark Williams early, and Choco, thanks for coming on, mate. It's a pleasure to be on with you. Is when I first started. Choco rang me and just said, "Mate, you're doing a great job." And I actually thought it was someone taking him off, because I thought, why would Choco ring us? But he did, and just said, "Ben, you're doing a really good job." And he gave me some advice. Just don't overload them with information. And I think that's where I've got better as a teacher and a coach, is we don't want to overload them. We just want to give them one or two things to work on to start with. Let's get them right, and then you might introduce some things later on. So I think that's a good message for coaches. Let's teach the progression. And not overload them with information too early.
You mentioned the importance of recognizing what's going to move, really affect their kicking development, like picking that one thing. Obviously, that takes experience and a coaching eye. For the coaches, is that video analysis? Is that one way that you find that you've developed that, like, to accelerate your coaching eye, or is it just putting time in the game, coaching field sessions? Talk us through.
Yeah, a bit of both. There's nothing like video feedback for me. You can see a kick live, and you can break it down and think of some things. But for me, filming them front on, filming them side on, putting it in slow mo, it really does, make it pretty obvious of where you can get your best bang for your buck for the athlete. So, what are the one or two things that I think can help them progress with their kicking? And it might be just their approach, that they might need more of a consistent stride pattern. It might be their ball grip, that you're looking at their ball grip and you just say that ball grip is not going to promote a great control. So that's going to affect other things as well. So there's lots of things you can look at. But as I said, pick one or two, and using video evidence for yourself will give you confidence, but it'll also be great for the athlete to show them. Because most of the kids we work with have never seen themselves kick. And when they see it, they're like, "Oh, yes, I understand what you're saying, Ben," and they believe in the process.
And what about for the parents listening in? What are some of the ways that they can help the process?
Yeah, I get for parents. For me, I encourage parents to come along to the sessions. And when I do coach education at clubs up here in Queensland, also encourage coaches, but also we try to get the community of parents to come along as well, because as coaches, we don't have a huge amount of contact time with them. It's about promoting that consistent message at training with me and at home. So when parents are there contributing and out in the lesson with me, that's when I see the greatest progression with kids, because they're listening to my teaching cues and the methods and the progressions we teach. And then when they have a kick at home, they're basically repeating and going over exactly what we did in the lesson. So they're getting that extra tuition. And sometimes kids don't listen to their parents as much as coaches, but just to get that message repeated is really valuable. So I think it's a really good lesson for coaches and people that are doing coach education, is that if you can get the community and the parents involved plus the coaches, it's going to even spread further.
And you've mentioned video analysis a few times. Is that smartphone? Is that investing in? Do you recommend coaches invest in a handheld camera? What does it look like?
Like for me, it's all smartphone. If you got an iPad, that's okay too. But we do most of ours with a smartphone. And we probably get 5 to 10 video analyses a week with people, mostly in Australia, some around the world, where they send in their footage. And we provide a detailed video report that we share on an unlisted YouTube link, and then we give them a report with some drills as well. So as a coach, that's a part of what we do as well, is to just show coaches how easy it is to actually to film on an iPhone. You can do a whole team from the front, just get them all to kick, and you might be able to do that in a minute 30. And then, yes, it's going to take you some time to review it and give them feedback, but it's really valuable feedback that I think is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Thanks for sharing your processes and philosophy behind it all. We'll go back onto the topic now. So,
Yeah.
variety of kicks. What are some kicks that you think are underutilized in junior football development? You work with obviously the elite as well. What are you working back from the elite back down to juniors? What do you think's missed?
Yeah, I think our traditional way of coaching, when I go around to junior clubs and when I watch training, and I do love watching junior training, and I learn a lot from going to watch. There's some amazing coaches out there where you just watch and learn at any club you go to around Australia. But I look at a lot of coaches and I listen to them, and a lot of the drills they're doing are very straight line and very, in that approach where it's all straight sort of lane work, very rigid approach, where our game is nothing like that. Our game is a 360-degree game. I think there's something like 446 different kicks in our game. That's a lot of variety of kicks. So if we're getting our athletes just to run straight and kick straight and tell them never to kick around their body, well, I'm sorry, that's not what's happening in a game. So we need to give them and let them express themselves at training. Yes, we want them to kick straight and be able to keep your hips and shoulders square and hit that target. I think that's a really good place to start. Once they get that, then I think, okay, it's time to open it up and let them express themselves a little bit and encourage kicking around the body, encourage kicking to space, dribble kicks, snap kicks, torps. Let them express themselves. Because look at Dustin Martin. I've got a great video of him, like 2 minutes of highlights. There's not one kick that's the same. It's all around the body. It's all snaps. Isaac Heaney the other night. Did you see how many goals he kicked, Jack?
It was 5, wasn't it?
Yep. How many were on his right foot?
I saw it. I think around 3 on his left foot snaps.
Mostly on his left snap kicks, and he's one of my favourite players. But it just shows that most of his kicks were on the left foot and snaps. So we've got to give our kids the chance to express themselves and use a variety of kicks. And I'm not seeing that a heap at junior training at the moment. But, I think that's something we can learn about.
Yeah. Yeah. And what is the actionable steps for coaches that are listening in and they're looking at their session plan? I think Ben's got a fair point here. We're doing a lot of lane work. What would be some starting drills to add into the session plans?
Yeah. Again, sorry, I'll just close that. Again, I do watch, and sorry, I know Mark's on, but Choco, when he's training his athletes, you look at the stuff he does with Melbourne at the moment, and you look at the stuff he's done with Werribee and all the stuff in his coaching career. It's think about what happens in a game, and then try to replicate it at training. So if you're kicking in pairs, and Kevin Ball's the same, don't just kick to each other at the start of training, getting into bad habits 5 meters away and letting your momentum go backwards and all those things. Think about what happens in a game. So maybe roll it behind you, pick it up, turn around and kick. Get on the ground on your stomach, get up, pick it up and kick. Throw it up in the air, catch it and kick. Go side to side, organise your feet and kick. Just think of as many different things. Take a mark, push back, wheel and go and kick. So there's so many things you can do to be creative, even when you're just kicking to a partner. And even if you're kicking to yourself against a wall or a net, try different things. Don't just run straight. Think of different things to test your grip when you're picking up the footy and things like that. So that would be my main advice, is think of what happens in a game and try to replicate that when you're at training and kicking in pairs and doing your drill work and things like that.
And you mentioned video analysis in training. What age would you like kids and parents to start filming their game so they can start to do that and see what their habits are on game?
Yeah, good question. Again, we do some game reviews for people, and probably the youngest I've had is probably about 13 or 14, and I think that's about right. Like, if we want our kids to be having fun when they're playing footy, and that's number one. But again, if your kid's super keen and there's got that intrinsic motivation and they want to see themselves play and want to get better, why not give them a look at a game review and just show them what they look like? But yeah, as they get older, they're going to get that through the programs and the academies and things like that as well. But I think it's really important that they do see what they look like, with the ball, and more importantly, what are they doing without the ball as well, off the ball movements and things like that.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for jumping on, Ben, and sharing us with your philosophy, some actionable tips for parents, kids, as well as coaches to take away. For those interested in following you, I know you're doing some great things on YouTube with Enhanced Football. Where's the best places to check out Enhanced Football?
Yeah, mate. On Instagram's probably our most. That's where we put most of our work into, and we'll try and put up little quick clips of drills and skills and tips for all the young athletes out there. So give us a follow on Instagram or Facebook. If you're interested in more of the longer training sessions and seeing what we do with different age groups and genders, jump on YouTube as well. That's where we like to put, those longer videos up and things like that. So yeah, that'd be great. And Jack, can I just say it's a pleasure just to be on with the likes of all the boys on here. I watch, what everyone's doing, and I'm learning a lot just watching everyone here. So it's a pleasure to be on with everyone. I think you're doing great stuff too, Jack. So appreciate it.
Mate, you're dedicated to the industry when you come on during a mate's wedding. So well done.
I do love it, mate. Yep, thank you.
Good word, Ben.
Cheers, Ben. Yeah. Enjoy the night.
All right, guys. Thank you.
See you, mate.
See you guys.
Next on the show, we have Nathan Chapman, the founder of Pro Kick Australia, which are located all around Australia. In fact, Josh Graudin is the Adelaide coach representative for Pro Kick Australia. So super excited to have him on. We're going to discuss how footballers can develop their American football kicking if they want to work towards being a college athlete. So welcome, Nathan, and thanks for jumping on to the podcast, mate.
Thanks, Jack. Appreciate time. It's good hearing Ben, and nice to meet you, Mr. Williams, and nice to see you too, Josh.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Take us through Pro Kick Australia. When did you found the business? When did you start?
Well, I think the idea stemmed maybe 2007. Finished an AFL career and still wanted to do something, I guess, sport related, and always felt like I could kick a ball. So tried the punting game. Didn't quite make it. Had spent some time there in the States for a little while. Didn't quite make it, but I knew there was an avenue I knew there was a number of people in Australia who could kick, and I just felt like there was more opportunity for guys if they went about it the right way. And obviously, some things that I did were good, but also probably not the right way to have longevity over there and understanding the system. So I went about helping young men get a spot at college, get them scholarships to university so they could get their degree, and potentially go into the pros after that.
He's being humble, Jack. Sorry, he's being humble. I think I listened to that podcast you had with Kevin, and he said that Nathan was one of the best kicks he's ever seen. And I've seen it in person at his age, roost him 50, 60 metres off a couple of steps. So it's quite impressive.
I was literally that bobbed up in my mind, Josh, as you were saying it. I haven't seen Nathan kick, but when you interview an expert like Kevin on the podcast and he's seen that many people kick and he mentions yourself, you must be pretty good technician. Talk us through for the kids listening that want to develop their game either for Australian rules football, and then we'll move into American punting in a second. But for AFL to start with, as a technician, was that something that was natural towards, and that was a strength that you sharpened as your career progressed, or was it something that you had to work on and put a lot of time into to develop?
It was probably a bit of both, and maybe the environment that I was in. I grew up in a small country town in Colbernabon, country Victoria. Population was 200. I believe I was there from maybe age 6 till 10, and the youngest underage football program there was under 18s. So to play football as a 8 and 9 year old in the under 18s you sort of had to learn pretty quick. Wow. So it was a case of practice your skills, which I sort of felt like it sort of benefited me, a couple of years into that to realise you had to go and get your own football and you just had to play. Obviously loved it. And then I think as I got a couple of years older, I then actually moved into a town of Bendigo, and then I've been playing under 18s for 3 years, and then moved back to playing under 12s in the local school league and things like that. So I had a chance to develop, I guess, a different rate, and it was force of nature to be able to, keep my spot in the team, or just play the game around different levels, and always being around and being encouraged to mix it with older guys, and always seeing it and seeing the different level and trying to chase that. So loved kicking on my left foot, and that was again spawned out of really bad ankle injury to my right foot. Spent the whole off season and season kicking on my left side, and just developed my whole left side for a whole year, maybe as a 14-year-old, 13, 14-year-old, and then just fell in love with kicking. And again, Ben said before, it's sort of really an expression of who we are. For those who like to kick, it really can be an expression of who we are. We just enjoy it, and some people think it's golf. There's something that you feel really connected to. Entered a long kicking competition as a young fella, and that had to kick a torpedo. So that's probably where it all started. Did all right there, and then sort of never looked back. And so then I tended to work on it a fair bit more, and it was just year after year after year, and felt like it was a strength. And and that's sort of probably where it all began.
Yeah, you mentioned the environment was something that you found helped you not only work on your craft, but also having those peers and people older than you to help. We're surrounded by technology and information these days with smartphones, computers, and all the rest. How important is it to still have your face-to-face mentors, do you think, at football clubs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And against, there's probably different versions of mentors too, and some will, some are giving good information about maybe what's needed from a skill set, improvement, a technical point of view, and some it's about confidence and giving them the confidence to try different skills and not worry about the failures along the way. It's not, so there's probably different mentors along the way that build you up all around and build you towards a peak of being able to deliver the skill, but have the confidence to do it, have the confidence to get over, it's not failure, but a bad kick. And I think there's plenty of room for lots of people to, to enhance your own performance along the way in your journey.
And you mentioned after AFL, you gave punting a go. How popular was it to make that decision at that time? How did you hear about taking on that feat?
I felt like I was pretty determined in my own mind to challenge myself in another area. I was 25. I felt like there was more, from a sporting world, or being a professional athlete. It was pretty hard to leave the AFL. I felt like I'd just gotten into my true man strength, and that the body was just right to go. It was as strong as it ever was. But for the certain reasons, the football side didn't work out, and that was, although it was hard to take, and it took me a little while to go, okay, what's next? It was sort of certainly what I needed to chase something, and kicking the ball was something that I enjoyed. Thought I was good enough at it. I'd been practicing long enough for it, and wanted to test myself, and that's when I started that journey to chase that, which was, in fact, a 3-year journey, kicking 3 to 4 times a week, without even knowing what the end result or goal was going to be. I just knew that there was something there, and I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know how long it was going to take, and I just kept at it, to be honest.
And now you've created a company from that experience. What did you love about America and the game and punting itself?
I felt like what it did was it made me think harder about the skill itself. And like I would say with a lot of things that you can sometimes do, if you do it long enough, the driving a car, sometimes you just do. And you can fall into a habit of it's not complacency, but it's almost like you've been driving a car, it's fun, but then you've got to go and learn to drive a rally car. And all of a sudden, the driving that you do has really sharpened up into, well, what happens if I go around a corner at this speed? What if it's gravel or bitumen or whatever? And all of a sudden, just like the kicking, you've got to put more attention into what you're doing to get the best out of yourself. And so going back into punting to know that in the punting world, okay is not good enough. It is, you may get 3 or 4 kicks per game. Coaches rely on you to do your job. Coaches get paid and keep their job if you do a good job. And in the professional ranks, if you have a bad day, they will sack you and they will get someone else. So if your paycheck's on the line, and I often give this analysis to try and get our students to understand the importance of taking care with what you're doing and not cutting corners, and it's the finer detail, is imagine if Buddy Franklin, in his first ever 2 AFL games, kicked 2 goals 4 and 2 goals 6, and then was sacked and never played again. That's the punting world. That is, have a bad game, they will replace you next week with another punter. Imagine if the full forwards of the league, if they had a bad day, would just be replaced next week, and the teams could just bring someone on. And if you did a good job, you'd stay until you didn't. And if they didn't, they would just bring someone in the next week. And that's I guess that's the industry. And so it makes you, I guess, from a professional sense, earn your money. But we've got to try and develop young men into understanding that's the world they're getting into, so that they've got to take a fair bit of care with it.
Yeah, and I imagine that exercise would hopefully develop a bit of urgency in these young boys and girls learning the craft. It is different because the football, obviously, there's so many other things that are going on. It's not as specialised as punting. How hard can it be to teach footballers that are now committed to punting to now apply themselves to one skill set?
Well, it's a really interesting point, because there's the college game, in a sense, has now changed, where yes, we've got to teach the spiral. The Aussie drop punt has come into the game, so much so that you might kick an Aussie drop punt 65% of the time at college. There are kicks where they might do a forward tumbling kick, kick it end over end forward so it tries to bounce and roll on. So over the last maybe 7 or 8 years, the drop punt has come into our game a lot. Our game, the American game, and because it's what used to be, you would kick it high to the returner trying to catch it. Now the game's turned into kick it away from the returner, kick it away from the guy who's trying to catch it and run it back. So having the ability to grow up playing Aussie rules and have a good fluent kick, have a good an ability to place the ball where you need to. It certainly has helped our guys, I guess, get more approaches from colleges about what your skill sets are. Yes, we need to kick a spiral, and it's very difficult to change the muscle memory with the Aussie rules guy. Look, some guys have a natural ability to kick really high, and some it's just about how far they can kick it. And so when you do a spiral, generally in AFL, it's about, well, if you've got to do a spiral, it's about distance. So teaching somebody to hold the ball on a different angle, hold it 4 or 5 inches higher than where they usually hold it, from a drop height, takes time. And so, again, we've got to go back to some pretty basic fundamentals to teach them what it feels like to kick the ball, not, let's say, just above your ankle height, but actually now up above your knee. And so that you're swinging and you're kicking up versus kicking long. So it takes a while for them to be feeling comfortable with it. But yeah, once they get it, it's again, sometimes it's natural. Sometimes it is literally, we've got to get them to stand and kick over a tree or a light pole. Once they physically see something in the air, they know what to do. But if you just have an open field, they go and revert back to habit. And that's what they've probably learned playing Aussie rules.
And for the developing footballers listening in under the age of, let's say, 18, boys and girls, what sort of distances have you seen people develop in a year's time when they've dedicated themselves and given it everything they can? What's possible?
Yeah. Yeah, what's possible? It's a different ball. It's got a different sweet spot. So the American ball's probably got a, I guess a 50-cent size sweet spot on the middle of it. It's quite, pointy and sharp on the end. So it tends to react quite harshly if you get it wrong. We go. I guess one of the main things that we do initially is to try and understand if they do understand how to maximize power, or where are they getting their power from? Are they using their levers properly? Are they kicking with or without any efficiency from the mechanical and the body posture? And so, because in the American football, you've only got 2 steps. You've got to catch it, for a right footer, catch it. You'll step with your right foot, and then you'll jump into your left foot, which is your plant foot, and then you'll kick it. So, one of the interesting scenarios is guys who feel like they've got to take, many steps to gain some momentum and then try and kick up with it. But in the reality of the game, it doesn't allow you to do it. So we've got to strip that back to mechanics and efficiency from kicking off no steps and being balanced, and trying to work on your core and your posture and so forth, and then transition that into kicking off 1 step and then being off 2 steps, and then seeing the difference. And you've got a true representative of someone who's done it in Josh, who you might be able to ask a little bit later, is once you learn how to use your posture and your core and your plant foot to gain that extra power, we like to say, hey, you're going to get more power with less effort. And then all of a sudden the kicking and the striking of a football or distance becomes a lot easier. And if you're relaxed and calm and you don't have to try as hard, then if you don't have to try as hard, you won't step as long. And if you don't step as long, you won't lose as much power if you can stay compact in that. So, there's certainly a development side from a technical point of view, but also from the mind to understand that it's okay to take less steps and it's okay to take shorter steps in our game, so that you can be compact and then more efficient. But
Nathan, I need to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I've never been able to kick a talk in my life. I probably max out at about 45 meters ever. Okay. How do you teach people to kick long? If you AFL, we're talking AFL now.
Yep.
What were the 1 or 2 or 2 or 3 things that you'd say, oh, you're probably doing this? Should I hold the ball out further than a drop punt? Should I, the angle you hold it on? I've never been consistent. And even when I kick a nice torpedo, it only goes 45 meters. So okay. What would be the reasons?
Okay. I would say from a torpedo point of view, and I'll just clarify this by asking, have we got a big run up, or will we say?
As long as you like, as long as you think is important. Okay. So if we're saying, right, we're going to kick a long distance competition, what is the distance you should run up, and to get the effective or the most, the best result you could?
Yeah, okay. If you ask anyone, and if you ask me, I would say go off about 3 steps. That's all you need from a power. Yes, you can generate a little bit more leg speed, but you might get more leg speed, but you might lose efficiency because your stepping pattern gets out of control and changes some angles. If you want a longer kick, a lot of guys probably don't understand how the kicking height. So if we talk about from a kicking height, we've got to work on the ball being on the same angle as our foot when we make contact, i.e. If this is our kicking foot and it starts to flip up, we want the ball to be on that angle as well as our foot to be on that angle when they cross paths.
Yep.
And if you were to say the ball will come off your foot, we'll say at a 45-degree angle, no matter where you kick it from. So if you've got the ball, and let's say a perfect trajectory is that for a long kick.
Yep. For a long drop punt, Kevin, it would be great if Kevin Ball was on here, but he says 30 degrees is optimal trajectory, just for anyone playing at home.
Okay, for a long drop punt.
Long drop punt, yeah. So not people might think 45 is optimal, but that doesn't incorporate spin rates and like air resistance when you think of it like a trajectory. But for a drop punt, he found at 30 degrees. So I think we're about to say like it's a bit higher. You need to get that angle. You need to go a bit higher, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So we've also got we've got our 3 steps. What I tend to like with for power. I like to make contact when your plant foot is flat on the ground and not on its toes, so your heel's not off. Okay, there are some other factors if you're leaning too far back, and that won't work. But it's about if the ball height on contact, the ball angle on contact are the same, and then our follow through is, and again I'm giving some rough numbers there. Our follow through goes 45 degrees as well, sort of through the same angle as the ball's going to come out. So we would generally say that we've got 3 kicks spirals. One is a really low spearing kick that's got to combat wind, and we need to sort of keep it really low and not let it get controlled by the wind. We've got our longest kick that is mid-range, and that's your long spiral with a little bit of hang time. So let's say we'll call kick 1 is a low one, kick 2 is a middle one, and kick 3 is a really, really high one for hang time. We would say our lowest kick, it is the contact points maybe halfway up your shin. All right. So when your foot swings through, it's already on the up. Contact points about halfway up your shin.
Of your plant leg.
Of your plant leg.
Yeah, like in line with your plant leg. Yeah.
I
know. I'm just thinking of people at home who aren't quite seeing this. So yeah, you're not contacting off your shin off the ball.
And you want to follow through to about waist height. You don't need to follow through up. Okay. Yeah. All right. You want the energy going through with the ball. For our what we call our mid height kick, or it's actually the longest one we've got, we want to make contact just below the kneecap, and we want to follow through to about shoulder height only. It goes more up and out. Our follow through is up and out. And then for our third kick, it's actually making contact above the kneecap, and that's when we follow through above our head. So if we think our 3 angles, really low kick, ball's pointed down low because that's the same angle of our foot when it's swinging through. When we want our second range kick, our foot's followed through a little bit further, so then we change the ball angle again. And for our high one, our foot's followed through it even further, and that's when we make and we drive up. So I would say make sure the angle of the ball is the same angle pointed down as your connection point.
Choco, if you want, you can go on my Instagram. I just made a video tonight of how to kick a talk based off of knowledge I learnt from Chappie when I came through as a punter. So it's something
I never ever try and teach anyone. I've got no idea how to do it, so I just leave it to the experts. Really, it's probably 3 a game, maybe 5. So
there should be more, mate. There should be more. Get over the zone.
Yeah, over the zone would be nice.
I watched the other game against the Bulldogs you guys had, and you had 15 guys in the defensive 50 trying to stop a forward entry, like inside 50 kick, and like you just love to see them rip out a barrel as opposed to trying to pick off a forward.
I'm sure if I could kick them, I would have. But, and they're tailing off to the the right, or they could be doing anything, but.
If they spin off and go up and they shape and then they come down on their bum and they travel right to left for a right footer, that's just because the nose is too far pointed down. You've flicked it up, it's gone off its axis, it's tried to spin, and then it curls around, right? So
I love this stuff.
Right.
As we've all said, we learn off each other. This is sitting here listening to this, I'm going, that's pretty damn good. Pretty damn good.
And the thing is, there's 3 things that'll happen with a spiral. And to Josh's point, in the AFL, if we go back a step to the NFL, you've got to kick it 60 metres and you've got to put it in a 10-yard box to keep your job. Off 2 steps, and you've got 1.2 seconds to catch it and kick it. And you've got
some big guys running at you.
Right. So if the skill set can be developed for professionals to be that accurate with that type of distance, and when I say 60 meters or a 60-yard kick, that's not including the minus 15 that you start. So if we're talking 75 meters, then we're certainly clearing the zone there, right? We're putting it on the wing. So if you could consistently put it on the wing within a 10-yard box, given any wind condition, then I think it's a valuable kick to have. And really, if you set up, you've got the one that flips out to the right and tickles over, and you've got one that you drop inside and it goes 35 yards to the right. Well, you can cover those 3 spots and away you go.
That's true. I think Choco, like, you were my coach, and I didn't have a great kick, but now it has honestly become quite automatic to kick a torp, like bang. And I've got skinny legs, but just get the technique right, and it's pretty crazy.
Well, it's wonderful to kind of learn that and say, well, there's no reason that anyone can't do it.
Right. Absolutely. But I think a lot of it you can apply into a drop punt as well.
Oh, look, I'm sure. I'm 100% sure.
Well, the power that we try and get for the NFL kick is certainly the basis is the same, yet different angle for the ball, different drop height, etc. But the power you can get, again, I'll categorically say as a mid-40s, we'll say mid-40s, mid-40 guy who forget that I've just done my Achilles, but let's just say given just by swinging a leg and having pretty good mechanics or efficiency, no stress whatsoever about kicking 60 meters off one step.
Wow.
Putting the ball in the right spot and sort of swinging and making that connection point. And it's like a lot of things. Doing the bench press. If you get your levers in the wrong spot, that bar's heavy. You get your technique and your posture right, and then it's a lot easier. So just those things. And that's not easy.
Yeah.
It's hard. Sorry.
You go, Chubby.
When we do the lessons, I feel like it's for kicking. It's like swimming or golf or things that it's not necessarily a short program. Kicking's it's almost like, if you really want to get into it, a lifelong skill you can keep getting better at, because there are so many kicks and there is the opposite side of the body. And I just think it's like karate. You just keep going and you just keep getting better and better and better, but there's so much to learn.
Just because NFL, can you kick at boomerangs and those sort of balls, or people don't want to do those? Or you kick, wobbly ones and the things that we muck around in AFL? Can you kick those sort of kicks as well?
Yeah. Bananas have come into the game. There's wobbly
kicks. Can you make the ball float like you can with the footy?
Yeah, you can. But again, there's the time and place, and you've got to do it right. And if you don't do it right and it doesn't go far enough,
I can imagine.
It comes on.
They do them in rugby, don't they, now? When they kick them up high, they float the ball so that it's a lot harder than sitting at home watching it. You think, oh, why didn't they catch it? They're making the ball move around in the air.
Yeah, you get really tricky, absolutely.
Mm.
Very good. Well, how much time do you think they need to dedicate for those 13-year-olds listening and thinking, geez, I might want to change the AFL game like you guys are saying, and in 5 years when I'm peaking, I'm going to kick over these zones and be the first to do it and change the game. How much time do you reckon these kids need to be putting in to master this craft for the AFL football? Yeah.
Sorry, you telling me, you asking me if they want to kick a torpedo?
No, they want to the precision that you're talking about, that American punter, not obviously not to a professional, but they can do it pretty close to that. So they can actually bring it into an AFL game without being dragged. They've got confidence in their ability to deliver.
Well, Dustin Fletcher used to do it, didn't he? Kick out. He'd do it every time, and he'd do it pretty damn well. And he'd kick it over the back of the zone.
Yeah.
I would just say that, like, it's something that you can just incorporate into your fun kicks, right? And it's not that it's taking it away from your drop punts. It's just adding an extra kick to your repertoire. So, if they're dedicating a bit of time every time they go kick a footy for it, and as they get older and stronger, they're going to get better at it. But, learn the right way, learn a good way of doing it, and Yeah,
Yeah,
I think like you're saying, you just keep progressing as you're always developing.
Yeah, I sort of see and going to, where do you want to take your kick level to, and how far do you want to go with it, at what level that you still enjoy it, and it doesn't become an obsession. But it is the little things, and although there are so many things that can happen in a game, and Aussie rules and different angles and everything, and there's so many different, like I said, you never ever do two of the same thing. The American football, the ball snapped in a different area, you've got to catch it, your body moves, there's different wind conditions. We still always remember to bring, no matter your skill set, when you come to us, we take you back to making sure you can learn the mechanics for efficiency and be more powerful. Because from an AFL point of view, if you can be really powerful off one step, and you can harness the power of your core and your plant foot, and if you strike the ball better, you got a quicker kick. It gets to its target quicker. If you can learn to do your kicking off 2 to 3 steps when you grab an AFL ball, and be efficient when you release it, and if you use your again mechanics when you strike it, then all of a sudden, if you can release the ball quicker and you can get it there quicker, then what you've actually opened up is you've opened up more options. So if you've got a teammate 25 meters away and a defender is 13 meters off them, your old 5-step style slow kick, low efficiency might take, and I'm pulling numbers out here, 2 seconds to get there, which is enough time for that defender to come in. If you are efficient with your kick and you kick it off less steps and be efficient at it and kick with more power and less effort, and it gets there quicker, then that defender can be closer and still not get there. So what it does is it sort of takes a little bit more less panic out of, should I take that kick, or, oh no, I don't want to do it because someone's in range to intercept it. And what it does, it just means it gives you more options because you're more confident and you'll get it there quicker, less height, all of those type of things. So
sure.
Preston Bulldogs need you right now. They're 7 goals, 16, just so you know.
They're pretty big sticks, those things.
You're exactly right. And we're with our the kicking that I do, I certainly try and take away their time all the time to build it up, to make them panic, almost to the point where they are over the top, and then bring it back a little bit, but always pushing the edge of where that time that they've got to make the decision, get all their feet and their hands and everything set, and then bang it. Yeah. So don't just kick the ball, kick it hard. I want them to kick it to the spot, not just lob it to it. Anyone can lob it. We want to make sure that the distance or the time that it takes to get there is very, very short.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, we're going off kicking, but like I said, it's reading the play about what you're going to do. What's your exit plan? And if you know where you're going to go before you get it, you can run in and go, I know where my options are. And if I get it right now, what am I going to do? So you've sort of got the feel.
That's all soccer. Soccer, they if you watch the experts in soccer, they see the ball come, and then they know where all their opponents are, and then they put their eye back on the ball. And for footballers to be able to pick that up and basically map in their minds where everyone is, it slows it down for them. That's for sure.
Yeah, which means you can get your body into position because you already know your exit point, and you go, well, if it comes to me now, I know I've got to shape in and balance left because I'm going to kick left if I got it right now. And absolutely. Less time, less confusion, less panic, and then you kick it efficiently, and all of a sudden it creates time, and that's where they look so calm. The good guys look so calm when they've got it because they know what's going on.
Yeah, well, I'll put it in now, but I think there's 4 things that get people drafted. If you can't kick, you can't play, as far as I'm concerned. So, we're talking coaches, or we're talking players, or parents, if they're listening, you better spend a lot of time on kicking. And that's where I love the fact that you can improve people's kick if they spend the time with experts that know how to shortcut it. So that's what Josh is doing, and that's what Ben was doing before, and yourself. You find the experts, and it takes them a lot less to get to where they want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to listen and put the time in. It's
yeah.
But again, right. We love it, and we could talk about it all day. And if you want to learn, we'll give you all of our attention because we're sponges.
We get a lot of joy out of seeing people succeed, don't we? Yeah. You see a good kick. Tomorrow night we're playing Essendon, and if I see a good kick inside 50 that hits someone, I get all the joy. That's what it's about. Wow, that was good.
It's a good segue, Chap. Thanks for jumping on, mate. And Choco's ready to roll, I reckon. So we'll get him on. But for those that want to get in touch with you, Pro Kick Australia, what's the best place to follow yourself?
Yeah, well,
where can they find you?
Yeah, I look after the Instagram Pro Kick Australia. I look after some Twitter, and every now and again I'll update the website and I'll drop a few pictures along the way. Nathan at ProKickAustralia.com is probably not a bad way to start. And to be honest, I encourage anyone who's even ever thought about it, come down for a kick. There's no pressure. It's actually a lot of fun, but it's certainly changed a lot of lives. We're almost done. We're at 197 scholarships to college, which is probably
amazing, mate.
Saved. It's over $45 million worth of college education fees for families, and it's again a good pathway. If you're interested, make a phone call and have a kick. And if it's not for you, A, we'll tell you. B, you just never know.
Tell me, Nathan, how many people that wanted to be AFL footballers that didn't quite make it went on, and we go, whoa, what about that? And now they became. Yeah, I understand that, Josh. So how many of those? Because there's probably a whole lot of people out there that are thinking, gee whiz, I wish I was an AFL footballer. And wait a minute, there is a whole new career for them they don't even know about.
Yeah, hey, absolutely. And listen, you might not have the motor to be able to run out a game, and you just might be a good kid from the country or, Heidelberg. Doesn't matter. If you can kick a football, we've got to teach you to play. We've had that many stories of young 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds who didn't even go TAC and weren't selected anywhere, but could kick a football. And then we've literally had to train them up also on the mental side of it to be able to handle the pressures that they're going into. And within a 12-month period have gone from, my name's Jack, can I come down to Pro Kick and have a lesson? Join the program, and within 12 months, they're playing a new sport for the first time, and their first ever game is in front of 105,000 people. And not unlike Josh's first game. We got literally guys whose first ever, Cameron Johnson, 2-year rookie at Melbourne, didn't get a game, got injured, came down, had a kick, and then he played 4 years at Ohio State in the NFL now. But his average crowd at Ohio State was 104,000 people. It's like and change their lives because they love to kick a football.
I do just want to say, I didn't have a massive kick, Choco. You can attest to that. Maybe slightly above average. Ended my AFL career, not what I wanted, but to have this opportunity to punt absolutely changed my life. And I honestly owe so much to Nathan. And
wait a minute, how did you end your career in AFL? How? Let's be serious.
How? Oh, I'm saying I got delisted.
Yeah, you got a broken leg and all that stuff. That didn't help, did it?
No,
that didn't help.
Wasn't ideal. So punting was pretty perfect.
No, that's what I'm saying. That strange things happen in footy, and if you take this other opportunity, wow, why not?
Exactly right.
I'm so proud of people like yourself that have gone on and found something else. Good on you.
Yeah.
I love it. I would love that because you've got a second option. There's nothing worse than stressing out that one thing is your only option in life. And if it doesn't work out, well, what is there next? This has relieved so much stress from people thinking, well, what if AFL doesn't work out? And they go, well, actually, I've got something else to do. The amount of stress that comes off and go, hey, I've got options. And they start to smile again. You'd be surprised at how many guys come to us from a AFL/VFL level, not getting a game in the senior team, come down, realise that this is an option, and we actually say, can you just now go back? We sort of tease them a little bit and go, now that you know this is an option, can you go and play the rest of the AFL, VFL footy season with effervescence and confidence? Can you take a hanger this week? Actually, I want to see a barrel. they go back and love the game again, and they, fair dinkum, go back and then start playing senior football, and we never see them. It's like literally a weight off their shoulders to know there's options. So, mate, all good. If you love, like, you got to love what you do.
It's been a consistent message all night, which is a good one. Thanks, Nate. Thanks for jumping on, and we'll add your website in the show notes. But next we have Mark Choco Williams, which doesn't need an introduction. Obviously, he's been well across the AFL industry as a player and premiership coach, and now currently head development coach at Melbourne Football Club with his elite kicking program and creator of precision kicking. So jump on, Choco. Thanks for jumping on, mate.
I'm actually reaching across here. So I did invent this for you, and it's got a line down the middle of it. If people, and we will have the links, I'm sure, but if you go to sharon.com.au/precision, or also Mark Williams Champion Teams, there's a whole lot of free videos there of all the things that I think that I've taught over the years. And, I've got Shawnee Burgoyne doing this stuff. So, they call him Silk. He was doing this stuff when he was 18, and a lot of the Giants players were doing it. And it's not like I ended it there. It's every week I find something that, I don't know, probably motivates me. It's interests me to find something else that it doesn't make it boring for players. And the fact is that it doesn't matter if you're a young girl who's first starting, parents get on and help them with it, because it starts with that actual demographic, and then it gets up to Dustin, me kicking with Dustin Martin and showing him some kicks as well. And Ben talked about it. If you look at the Mark Williams Champion Teams, it talks about kicking in a bubble, and that's all the things that happen in the game. Try and be able to be consistent with your kicking no matter what's happening around you, but did you pick it up and kick it? Did you rip it off someone? Did the umpire give you a free kick? Was it stopped? Were you lying on the ground? All those things. But in the end, you have to do the same thing. And it's amazing, in the lockdown, I was with Werribee, and I was doing some one-on-one coaching. And it was, I coach the same for 10-year-old kids as I do for the AFL footballers. I do the same drills. Obviously, we do it a bit faster and all that stuff. But AFL players who can't kick properly, I bring them right back to what I show the first day players in regard to hand on the ball, making contact consistently in the same spot, feeling it, hearing it, and getting a real where it hit on the foot, get the feeling of it, and can you consistently hit the same spot? And if you can, then you can kick. And I'm very much into the idea of know how to kick first, and then we'll do 1,000 different types of kicks afterwards. But learn how to do the basic one first and get that right, and then progress from it. And, so I just love the idea. Now, since that time, that's the basic kicking. Then I try and work on decision-making kicking. What is some basic decision-making kicking that people and coaches need to introduce? Don't bore the players, but if they're not doing 10 or 15 minutes of kicking at the start of every training session, whether they are little kids or whether they are, senior players, women, I don't care who they are, they must be doing 10 or 15 minutes of kicking every training session. And Melbourne Football Club just won the premiership, and we did it every week with those footballs. So I'm telling you, I'm not just making it up. Our kicking percentage went from versus our opposition on the same day under the same conditions. We were 11th last year. We were 5th this year. When it comes to the finals against all these teams, we were number one. And I'm very proud with the fact that we improved that. And, some of the kicks that some of the players delivered, it was fantastic. So I love it. Can we then make it kicking under pressure, people chasing them? Can we have chaos of people going everywhere? All of these sort of drills you need to invent. You need to watch what happens in the game, stop it a little bit and say how many players are there and make a drill. And that's probably my expertise, if you like, is to try and design drills that reflect the game, but put players in those situations. So it might be when they're under fatigue, we're going to do this drill. It might be we're going flat out. So our highest GPS that we get in a game, we're going to reflect it, and we're going to do it in this drill, and we're only going to do it for 4 minutes, but we're going to do it as fast as we can. And again, that puts them under pressure, and can they handle it? And once we can tell them to be calm, relax, see the target, then watch the ball, done, finished. The opposition doesn't touch the ball.
Yeah, Choco, when you said your kicking percentages was through the roof, did you find that their physical output was down? Didn't have to run as much, weren't chasing as much?
Yeah, well, kicking more goals and all those things in the end. So, honestly, I can't give you a definitive answer on that. But when you're winning, you don't run as much. So that would be the case.
That always helps, yeah.
And where did your passion for specifically focusing on your kicking craft start as a coach, or was it as a player? It's been a journey of something you've always had a fascination with.
Well, people might know, but my dad was a famous coach. He's in the AFL Hall of Fame, and if you go to Adelaide Oval, one of the grandstands is named after him. Coached Port Adelaide for 9 premierships, and captain coach South Australia and all that stuff. So he was into perfection, if you like. But I'm also a teacher, a phys ed teacher. So all the stuff that the sports scientists and the biomechanists and the skill acquisition people, I learned for 4 years. I love the learning from those guys, and so I don't gobble all of it up, but I add a little bit of, I like that bit, and I like that bit, and I like that bit, and in the end, that's what we do. We borrow from everyone and make it your own, and so I'm delighted that Josh and Ben were using my balls. That's the reason I saw Ben. I thought, what the hell's going on here? He's up in Queensland, and he's got my balls, and he's using my techniques, and I couldn't be more delighted, because I just want players to be able to kick better, and there's no way that I can get to everyone, and that's why I put all those things on for free on the internet. Good luck, and it's a delight. One of the best stories I've got, there's this guy, his name's Bazaru Faya, and he come from Senegal, and someone rang me up and said, can I do some kicking with him? Yeah, okay. So I turn up, and he's got big glasses on, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, if you remember him. Yeah. And he used to play basketball. He comes from Senegal. He's 6'9", and he's 18, and he's never played football in his life. So I had 20 of these 1-hour sessions with him, and after that, he got drafted on Collingwood's list this year. And
wow.
It's just wow. This guy has never, ever kicked a ball before. And, so we were showing him all the different things. But I got great delight out of it. And, then at the same time, I was coaching a kid who was 8, and I was saying that he kicks better than half the team at Melbourne. That's how good he was. I could give him any of the drills and try and muck him up as quickly as much as possible, put him under amazing amount of pressure, and he could still deliver and hit the kicks. And I thought, wow, I can't wait for 10 years' time to see this kid and where he gets to. And I'm going to say, wow, I remember you, mate. So I love those stories. And to this day, every player that I coach, I love to watch them. And, if it's a bad kick, it's important for everyone to understand. Everyone does bad kicks. I coached Dustin for 4 years, and, a lot of times he does bad kicks, but he's good enough to understand what happened. You have to recognize what you did wrong and then let it go, but make sure it's better the next time. That's all you have to do. So don't disregard it and say it doesn't matter, because it does. What did you do wrong? You forgot to watch the ball at the end, or you forgot to run towards the target. You looked up early. There's only about 4 or 5 things. And if you go online to those things that I said before, it's got all those if you do this, if it looks like this, this is what's happened. So I'm there to teach parents, I'm there to teach teachers and other coaches. These are the signs of things that muck up so that you can get the answer straight away and not sit there and wait. Ben said about vision. Vision is so important. You need to take, I have my phone in my pocket all the time at training, and I take players doing stuff and just to show them. And, as he said, players and kids, and they don't believe you until you can actually show, and then they're on to it. And once they know that you're there for them, and you're there not just to tell them off or tell them they're wrong, but give them solutions, then you'll get great results.
I could Mark there about just what you said, which I absolutely love from that. I forget how you worded it. The way I would say it is, everything's got a ripple effect. And where does the source of the issue, if it's a consistent error, where does the source of the problem come from? And sometimes it's not the ball drop. It might be, like you said, how your hips move, how your hands move that shake you out of hand, which gets you out of rhythm, which gets you offline, which creates a hook on your kick. And about always, so what you're saying is, where does it start to go wrong, and fix that problem can alleviate the end result being a problem. Because if it doesn't go wrong early on, you don't get out of control along the way. For, like people often say, I hook the ball. I continually hook my foot. And we've got a drill there with Joshy to say, yeah, but if I put two metal poles right here and tell you to throw the ball through it, I bet you don't hook it. And it's like they won't, because they've got an injury. They'll kick it and it'll hurt their leg, right? So it's not that they've got a hook foot. It's just where they're doing things to put the ball into a spot to make you hook it. And that's just their natural instinct. However you worded it, someone rewind it.
You're exactly right. Hook foot, I had a player that instead of kicking this way, his foot would go sideways. And I'd put him next to a curb and make sure that if you want to keep hooking your foot, you're going to break your leg. So all of these strange little things to try and get them to commit to a movement going straighter rather than going sideways. And so it is up to the coach to think through what you can come up with that might be able to help. And it might be the plant foot is on an angle when you go to kick, which turns your hips, which then makes the ball go crazy. And it's got nothing to do with anything except get your plant foot straighter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over the years, Choco, you've worked at a few footy clubs. What you mentioned, Melbourne does 15 minutes every session. Is that in your mind that's the standard now? Is that what every club should be doing that for ultimate effectiveness?
Yeah, 100%. Kicking is the key to winning the game. So you have to do that. You have to do some competition stuff. You have to be smart. So then you have to do some drills that have some decision making in it. So there's 3, and if you can't run, you can't play either. So you have to have some sort of fitness or speed. So they're the 4 things that I think get people drafted.
What were they, Choco? Kick, run,
smarts, and competitive. Win one-on-ones, win your own ball.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, when you divide and you think, what am I going to do for training tonight? Make sure you're covering all those things.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the chaos and pressure.
So many, if you want to do a one particular kicking, there's, say, decision-making kicking, you can do 2 people up this end versus 1 in the middle. 1 goes to one side, kick it to the other bloke. Yep. Same up the other end. So we're kicking to 2-on-1 as we're running through. Then you can make it 3-on-2. Then you can make it 4-on-3 up there and 2-on-3 here. So you keep doing the same drills but changing the numbers. But it adds to the motivation. It adds to the enthusiasm of the players. But you're still covering the things off that are helping them. And if you have too many people involved in the drill, only one person's making decision, only one person's kicking it. So you have to break down the drills, have small numbers, usually uneven numbers of groups, and you'll get the best result. So if you had 15 minutes of doing that, you might do 10 minutes where you have just very small numbers, but then the last 5 minutes you might do it with a full kind of game-like thing.
What's the decision-making drill people can do when they're just with one other person?
Yeah, well, it's difficult, and as Ben said, I certainly always bring their dad out or their mum out or the sister, brother, have someone there to help you. But in the videos, again, if you watch, I often use the cricket net, so you don't have to go and pick up the ball, and have coloured bibs, and just get someone to call a bib colour and hit those things. So that's good enough, and you don't have to chase the ball all the time. So you can do it by yourself and not find an excuse for it.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think I use for some of my one-on-ones, I just have some agility poles, and then I either go left or right, or I'll just point, so they've got the visual, and then I might go down and I'll go to one pole, make them have to then kick to the free pole. So yeah, it is hard obviously when you've only got a couple of people, but I'm just thinking of things that people can do when they're by themselves or whatnot.
Yeah. It's certainly more difficult. If probably 3, if you have 5 people, it's pretty damn good. That's for sure.
Yeah. Gotta get your mates involved.
And what about when you get the camera out during training? What are some common mistakes you've seen over the years with footballers?
Well, I show them the hand on the ball stuff. I show, obviously, when this sort of ball is dropped, you can see it. It's quite easy for players to then get direct feedback, and that's the reason why we use this ball. The players adjust themselves because they go, oh yeah, I can see it's not up straight. So can I get the ball up straight? Because if the ball's up straight, it spins violently and then it gets to the target. So some other people, they look up, they want to check their kick. They're not quite confident enough, so they stop and look up. Other people, after they kick, they run off on an angle instead of running towards. If someone's running to the left, you should kick and run to the left as well, and then your hips and the body and the ball all go in the same direction, so it doesn't tail off at the end and just fall short and all that sort of stuff. So that's mainly it. Honestly, there's only about 4 or 5 things that people do wrong, and not like they do them all wrong, but there's one of those 4 or 5 things, and if you can fix those things and they are aware of it. But kicking is not easy, and it takes a long time. And don't think if you listen tonight you've got it fixed, or you go out and practice it for a week. It won't work. It'll come back. You need to be very, very consistent with it, and it's not an easy skill.
Last one. Choco, you mentioned you've given feedback with players during their training session. You've showed them the video, and they're now aware of an area that they're working on. And are they just focusing on that at their next training session, or do you give them craft drills that they're supposed to do on their own time? How does it look?
Well, I have those little balls that, size 1. I don't know, people probably know, but adult males are size 5 and females are size 4. So you can get size 1 size balls. It's a lot easier for people to hang on to. It makes them really have to attend to it. And it's another drill that kind of interests the players that are pretty good. They want to be really good at a small ball as well. So all of those things are good. It might be kicking a tennis ball on a string so that you get a consistent hit on the same spot on your foot. It might be kick the ball and spin it in the air as you walk along. I don't know. There's a whole lot of different things. But if you're poor at something, you have to go backwards. You can't just keep going. You need to stop it and say, right, I'm going to practice this way, way, way over the top so that it becomes a natural thing and something that's relearned. So you have to really dump what you know and relearn again. That's what happens.
Love it. Fantastic. Thanks, Choco. For those that want to get in touch with you, mate, you mentioned some one-on-one coaching and working with people of all ages to help them get drafted. Is that still happening, or are you too busy at Melbourne?
See the kicking consultant, that guy downstairs, just down there. Honestly, I haven't got any time at Melbourne. It's really busy. It's really exciting. Who knows? I might get the flick next year, and I'm back looking for something to do. So, but I can see myself being doing this for years to come. I know what I'm doing, and I know that that they get great success out of it. But as I said, the videos are free. I'm really happy that you get on and look at them and coach yourself, coach your kids. It's like you get the same thrill of, you taught a kid how to ride a bike, you teach a kid how to kick a footy, and you get that same thrill. And the girls that are getting into it now, I've gone out with Daisy Pearce. I've gone out and helped the girls at Melbourne. It's a wonderful thing, and they get such delight to have someone that knows a lot of stuff, have been around, and give them some help as well. And so the girls out there, I see the young girls coming through now, and they're going to be so much better kicks than the original AFLW girls, because they just started younger and they've got better coaching. So look out in the future.
I concur with that, Choco. I work with the Richmond women's team, and absolutely the effort and the attention that they put into the stuff there is amazing. And like I said, there are some girls who legitimately kick so well and work on their craft, and they're sponges for information too. So I wholeheartedly agree where that's headed.
All right. Well, lovely to talk to you. Good on you.
Thanks, Choco.
No worries.
Last but not least, we have Josh Growden, the founder of the Kicking Consultant, located in Adelaide, but he has digital products for people that want to work with his products and learn his coaching philosophy all around the country or even international. So we'll talk about his website later on, but his topic tonight is going to be how you can increase your kicking distance. Welcome, Josh. Thanks for jumping on, mate.
No worries, Jack. Thanks for having me on, mate. I will just preface, if you do want a footy, precision footy or a Sharon footy, you can use the code TKC20 and get 20% off.
Oh, we'll add that in the show notes. Was it TK?
Sorry, Choco, does that just that takes out your profit, does it?
Well, no. I'm very happy if you. I
don't get it. I don't get any kickbacks for that, but it is just a nice little discount that people can get.
Oh, that's fantastic, and I agree. That's a wonderful thing, and hopefully a lot of people take it up, because I think Sharon have almost doubled their sales in the last year. And that's how they're going.
Yeah. I was like, how good can these be? Is a bit of a gimmick, but no, I love them. So good for beginners, but then also guys who are good kicks. It really makes them focus because they want that spin to happen and get that right. So they're so good. I use them for every kick, and you can kick talks with them as well.
Some people.
Well, that's a good segue, mate. Top tips for kicking distance. We talked about angles before and the biomechanics of it, but do you want to go in a little bit more detail? What are some of your favourite drills for athletes that come to you?
Yeah, well, this is a lot that I learned as a punter and under Nathan, and then also had a really good chat with Kevin Ball last year. Just got a massive fascination in the biomechanics and physics of it all. So it's all about foot speed. How can we increase our foot speed, and then what we're doing at contact. So mainly foot speed. I kind of break it down into 3 categories. You got your technique, you got your strength and power, and then your mobility and flexibility. So I know I've read all of Kevin's studies, and with our chat, like a 2-degree increase in your hip extension, ability to get your foot further back, added 5 meters to some of these AIS kids. And so being able to get your foot further back in the backswing allows for more distance to accelerate in the forward swing. So that's really important, getting your hip nice and far back, your foot nice and far back. Some people that happens naturally. For me, it wasn't natural. Had to kind of work on it through mobility and strengthening on my glute and hamstring. I was lucky, kind of had a nice power in the forward swing. So developing that with power exercises, strengthening of your hip flexor, the front of your body. And then so that's kind of taking care of your mobility and your strength and power. And then the technique, there's lots of different things there with how a plant foot is at contact, what's the contact height, what's the ball angle, how much force are we imparting through the ball? Is it wasted, by slicing off the ball? So those are the three categories, main areas of focus, and I hope I touched on them enough for people to kind of get a grasp.
100%. And then how often from a skill acquisition point of view, do you feel you need to be, is it time? Is it frequency? What's the best way to sort of add that into a kid's schedule, do you think?
Yeah, I think like after a good warm-up, you can incorporate, going for long distance kicks, but really a really good drill that they can do straight away, and which I encourage in any warm-up, is the no-step kick. So being able to not utilize momentum, it's purely strength in your hamstring and glutes to get your foot back, and then come through powerfully. You're not reliant, you can't, use momentum. So that's a really good drill, not only for your distance, but just to get more penetration on your kick for those low punch kicks. Then you try and kick as far as you can with that. Then you progress to the one-step kick, showing that you can develop enough momentum off just a couple of steps, off just one step. And then, and then we also want to be able to do it under fatigue. So at the end of training, why not have a few cracks from outside 50, playing around different things.
And then, talking about goal kicking, how does it differ when you're focusing not purely on distance, but actually precision as well, when you're kicking for 50-meter goals or for junior athletes where they're at their sort of threshold?
Yeah, so I'm a big believer in that. There's almost like three areas for a goal kicking. You got your in close, where your technique is really simplified. You're kicking off a couple of steps. You've got your mid range, which occur a lot. I try and keep that everything straight and only kick off 3 to 5 steps. And then there's that on the cusp of your range where you just need to add a little bit more. And that's where you'll see naturally people go out on an arc, and I'm all for it, because it goes back to that arc opens up your hips, gets your foot further back, allows some more rotational velocity in your hips to come through. As long as you're making good impact, you're matching, like Nathan talks about, matching the angle of the ball with your foot, imparting that through, finishing with your foot towards the goals. Choco talked about your hips coming through. As long as we've got that down, that arc, there's no reason why we shouldn't be doing it, and shouldn't be allowing these guys who can, are older kids or whatever, who know how to kick a footy, why not let them practice it so they're good at it and they can do it in games? I think Ben alluded to it, if everything, you see a lot of these coaches keeping everything straight. It's that naturalness to go out on an arc when you're on your cusp of your range. So just make sure, as a player listening, practice those kicks. Don't just go thinking in a game you're going to be able to do it. So, and I think as coaches, encourage them to go on an arc, as long as you're kind of implementing those kind of key things. Match the foot with your ball, finish with your hips, and foot towards the middle of the goals.
I've got a question on that arc, Josh.
Yeah.
And I don't mind the arc either. People will often say stay straight and kick in alignment, and I don't mind the arc. But what I would say is, what I'd ask is, I'd make a nice, and this is how I would teach it, whether you think any different. If you're going to go on arc, I would say go on a nice gentle arc the whole way on your run up.
Yes.
Versus run really, really straight, and then in the last step open up, and then go arc right at the end. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a good one. I've probably said your last couple of steps into it would be that arc, but and I don't try, and it doesn't have to be dramatic. It really doesn't have to be dramatic. It is that kind of natural arc. That's a great point. I'll look into that more.
Just not straight and then real hard at the end to do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Step. If you got, like I said, the last 3 or 4 steps are it's you just gently then curl out with it. I'm all for it, because you can keep everything balanced. Then you're not haven't got a fast movement of the hands to go in, up and out and over.
Yes.
You've got to try and find it. You've got to, your eyes have to see the ball, and if it's gently out in front and you're all doing the one thing, then your body can understand how to get in behind it.
Yeah, love that.
Josh, you've also got the Masters in Strength and Conditioning. For the senior athletes that are listening to this and they're inspired to, let's say, senior athletes 30 plus, or they've just had chronic injuries due to overload over the last couple of years and they're wanting to get back, but they also want to improve their performance with kicking. what would be a good way to, and we'll look at this holistically, like you mentioned, so mobility, strength in the gym, but then also implementing a kicking program. Is there a program you have in place that is periodized with the strength stuff, or is there pillars that you would recommend to be careful of? Like, is max distance kicking equivalent to sprinting, where you want to build up to it? Talk us through that.
Yeah, well, I will say I do have a really good kicking guide with a 4-week program that people can do. I've had people over the country buy and absolutely love it. So if that incorporates those kind of 3 factors and then gives them a program to follow. And I think like Mark Choco was saying, like, kicking's not easy. So you kind of have to follow some sort of good coaching in a plan if you want to be somewhat successful. So check that out if you want. I think it's really good for people who want to increase their distance.
What's that called, mate?
It's on my website. Just Increase Your Kicking Distance Guide. And if they want to chuck in a code PLP, they can get 20% off any of my digital products.
Yep, we'll chuck in the show notes.
Yeah. So sorry, for 30-year-olds who are coming back into playing,
maybe. Yeah, just for senior athletes, not kids. Kids can get away with anything. They can just start kicking 300 balls a day no worries.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, for the senior athletes that are just training twice a week, they're playing on game day, but they do, they want to start improving their kicking performance. That maybe they're a forward or they just want to improve their field kicking. They're motivated by the talk half an hour ago about getting over the zone. They want to learn the talk now.
Yeah.
What would you do with that strength and conditioning background that you have as well? Like, how would you go about getting your skill acquisition improved, but in a way that you're reducing that risk?
Yeah. So with my kicking, I've got it so they not only try and get stronger in their kicking, but also in their load. So the first week starts off at, I think, 70 kicks, and then it progresses each week to building up your load and tolerance of your number of kicks. In the strength and conditioning, look, it's so hard to give a holistic view. We're talking individuals here, so different. Those senior players had different injuries over the years. So I think just getting a well-rounded program that covers all bases, super important. And then it just depends on your ability. Like, can you do power cleans or hang cleans or things like that? So definitely progression, and it can start with body weight. Most of my program is body weight or minimal equipment, banded stuff. There's so much you can do with it's just a resistance band. And then if you're confident in adding dumbbells, barbells, then I'm all for that as well.
Yeah, awesome. And those 70 kicks that they're doing a week, and then it's progressing up each week, would you recommend they add those 70 kicks over 2 sessions, so 35 on the Tuesday, 35 on the third, or is it more on the main training session, like 50 and 20? Or
it's a few kicks, but a lot of them are 5 meter kicks, then 10 meter kicks. So I've set it in the overview of it. Do half before the session, and if you're running out of time, then you can do the back half of those kicks at the end, and that's great because it's talking about as I mentioned before, kicking under fatigue. So you really, like Mark said, 15 to 20 minutes, dedicate that, and then maybe another 15 to 20 minutes on really thinking about distance kicks, maybe even 10, because you're incorporating those short penetrating kicks anyway in your warm-up, like I said, with the one-step kicks. So give a bit of time before and after your sessions if you want to really take your kicking to another level.
Fantastic. Well, I'm mindful of time, guys, so I know we're at 10:15. Thank you for your involvement tonight. We've got 2 questions that have been sent through. So first one was on the Facebook discussion from Rudy. In 2008, the great Adam Goodes famously wrote the words, "When Aboriginals play Australian football with a clear mind and total focus, we are born to play it. At a professional level, it could be presumed that the mechanics to kicking should be automatic." And then he's gone on to say,
how can players better ready themselves mentally? Yeah, I see.
Yep. To achieve a clear mind and total focus in both goal kicking and around the ground. So, Nathan, you mentioned it a bit earlier before, and Josh, I know with your experience over in America, the pressure of punting is obviously immense. You guys alluded to it earlier in the podcast. What are some good tools that footballers, full forwards, let's say, that are goal kicking under pressure should undertake?
You go, Chappie.
Yeah, I think there'll be a different phase. I think sometimes it's mechanical, and then sometimes it's from a mental capacity to be confident. Once you're confident, it sort of doesn't matter what your run up is. Once you know you how to strike the ball and you're confident, it doesn't matter what angle you run on, doesn't matter where you just seem to know how to put the ball through the sticks. And I feel like so there's a real element to understanding how to strike the ball first, right? And mechanics can help that. And then once you're striking the ball well, then it's a confidence thing. And there is a good quote that I don't know how to quote it, but it's about that. You'll if you train at a higher, what is it? You bring yourself down to
you compete at you play at your
lowest level of practice. When you play, you actually drop to your training
standard,
training standard. So you've got to do enough of it, absolutely. And I think actually one of the things I did personally was. I know I might have been recognised as playing a lot of back, but I did spend a lot of time goal kicking and practicing goal kicking. And what I found was it was repeating. I would kick 30 kicks in a row from 15, 20 metres out and just keep visualising. And when kicking the ball through the goals, strike it. Don't go out of my range and make sure that I'm striking the ball really well. And just keep seeing it go through and through and through and through and through. And then I knew that that same kick I could repeat at 40 metres and 45 metres and do nothing different. So the visual and the visual component of me practicing kicking lots of goals versus going to stand out at 50 and miss some and kick at a poor percentage rate. I kicked more goals in close and then repeated the process when I got further out. And seemed to be really confident any time I went for a shot.
Yeah, I think the confidence is a massive one. You just play so freely when you're confident. But I'd say with goal kicking in particular, like I think of a routine is really important. And when I say routine, I don't say you're counting your steps as you go in 1, 2, 3, 4. I think of a routine almost like a tennis player before they serve. What do they do to set their mind to get focused? So it doesn't matter what type of serve they're doing. If it's a smash serve or a slice, their routine's always the same. If you look at Rafa, it's ridiculous, and that's what I try and get guys who are wanting to kick goals in their set shot. Have a routine that sets your focus, and it doesn't matter if you're kicking a short range kick or a long range kick. You just do something that kind of sets your focus. Look at NBA when they do their free throws, like they've always got that routine, and it's before the techniques even happened. I think tennis is a better one because there's a variety of serves, whereas like the free throw, it's the same shot. And I think the tennis more relates to footy because we have those different types of like set shot kicks. And then for around the ground type of kicks, I think it comes back to that confidence, and you can be confident if you've put in good practice that week. In your kicking and in your like game preparedness.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Well, great answers, guys. Thank you, Josh, for jumping on as well, mate. For those that want to get in touch with you, where's the best place to find you? I know TikTok, you're doing massive things there. Instagram as well.
Yeah, the kicking consultant on everything. TikTok's definitely the biggest. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter is more the NFL side of things. But TikTok and Instagram for the AFL for sure.
And you've got availability for coaching one-on-one.
Yes.
Off air, you're talking about clinics potentially.
Yeah, so in Adelaide, one-on-ones and clubs, but mainly online. I'm going to work closely with people who are in that 1 to 2 window of getting drafted, really trying to help them out. But anyone who wants online, like film analysis, doesn't matter what level you play at. I really just want to provide elite level coaching to anyone, wherever you are, it doesn't matter.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you, guys. Thanks for sticking with us as well. For those listening in live, if you tuned in later on, this will be posted straight to our YouTube page, so you can watch the recording from the very start. Definitely recommend it. There was gold nuggets all the way through. It was a great discussion and super engaging as well, with the whole panel clearly showing passion in this topic. So definitely recommend listening from the start. And for those podcasters out there that prefer to go for a walk and listen, maybe walking the dog or driving to work, then the podcast will be released very shortly on Fridays. We'll listen each segment at a time on a weekly basis. So thanks again for the guest, Ben. Dean Jones has just written, great show. It was fantastic, guys. So it was awesome to have this topic on. And for any questions as well, like all the panel mentioned, they've got areas that you can connect with them and ask questions if they pop up, if you're listening in the recording of this as well. So make sure to get in touch, and we'll add in all their links in the show notes. In terms of the Prepare Like a Pro live chat show, our next guest is with Sean Baker, the founder of Peak High Performance Gym. That will be on our YouTube channel, 8:30 p.m. on the 8th of April. So that's on our Friday, where we're moving our show from Thursday to Fridays now. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you on the next show.